Hello everyone, welcome to another Flesh and Blood video. This time, we're going to be taking a look at the second half of the set Dusk Till Dawn. We're going to be taking a look at all the Shadow cards, including Shadow Brute and Shadow Runeblade, as well as all of the generic cards. With that said, let's just get right into it. Starting off this review, we have the Shadow Brute hero, which will remain Levia. However, she does get a new weapon, being Hellhammer. Hellhammer is a 2-cost to attack with a 6 power Shadow Brute weapon 2-handed hammer. It has the effect when the combat chain closes. If Hellhammer attacked, banish it, and Hellhammer has Blood Debt. Personally, I don't think this is as good compared to the other Brute weapons. Obviously, you don't want to be swinging with your weapon unless it's claws, usually, since that means you're not playing a bigger attack. Although, I guess with this effect, I think it would shut off Blood Debt because this is a 6 power card. So I suppose in situations where you think you might have a tough time shutting off your Blood Debt with Levi's ability, this could be a pretty good choice. So I think it is a good option, but in general, Brute weapons are either really good or really bad. This one might be the first, middle ground of Brute weapon. Next is the Spoiled Skull. This is a Shadow Brute headpiece. It has an action, pay 1 resource, banish this. Target 3 action cards with different names in your banish zone. Choose 1 at random. You may play it this turn. Go again. It also has Arcane Barrier and Blood Debt. If you were going to play an Arcane Barrier helmet, you probably should be playing Skullhorn instead, alongside with some other Arcane Barrier 1 piece to have 3 AB. I don't think this is as strong. I don't think it will see as much play. Yes, it does have some upside. Sometimes hitting a strong attack like, I don't know, a swing big in your banished could be really good, but it makes it feel pretty bad to have to lose an equipment just to play an attack from your banish, as well as this doesn't shut off your Blood Debt and is Blood Debt, so you need to find another way to do it. It is pretty niche, and compared to the other helmets that Brute has access to, especially one in this set, this card kind of just falls flat. Next, we'll be taking a look at the Majestics of not equipment, because that is the only Majestic equipment. Diabolic Offering is a 1-cost blue Shadow Brute attack. Its power and block are treated as 0 unless you've banished a card with 6 or more power this turn. If you have, its power and block are 6. It's hard to do that on your opponent's turn, although there is a way now with another card we will be talking about. It also has Blood Debt. It's okay. It's not really a good it's not really a 6 power blue in the sense of you want it to be a 6 power card always. This is a 6 power card sometimes and is a blue. I don't think this is super strong, but possibly could see play at some point. Next is Shodden Death Hydra. This is a yellow 6-cost Shadow Brute attack. It has 13 attack and 3 block. When this attacks, it deals X damage to you, where X is 13 minus the number of cards with Blood Debt in your banish zone. And it, of course, itself has Blood Debt. This is really interesting. This is, I believe, I would have said the highest power, but I think actually Pulverize has more. So this is the second highest power card in the game. This allows Levia to really easily play something like Rouse the Ancients, since this by itself can be revealed, although After that, it's probably going to get pitched to your weapon. This card itself, when playing it, doesn't seem too strong because the health trade-off might be a little too high. Obviously, there will be decks built around it, but with the way that Levius seems to be going, 6 is a lot of resources to pay for one attack, and it needs to be played fairly late game, but not too late, because if it's played too late, the downside could kill you. So I think this card could see play with, as I said, Rouse the Ancients, but it's not really the best card to be putting into your decks. Next is Slithering Shadowpede. This is a 1-cost red, 6 power Shadow Brute attack. It has no block, meaning you cannot block with it. It has Blood Debt, and if this card is banished from your hand this turn, you may play it from your banish zone. This is a card that I think is really good. Alongside a brand new card such as Ram Rider, which we'll talk about soon, Slithering Shadowpede can be an easy 1-cost follow-up for 6 damage alongside something like an Art of War. This is the perfect thing to banish to an Art of War because you can play it right away after. You can pick Banish Draw on you can pick Banish to draw and go again on an Art of War, and then play this with the go again for 6 really easily. So I do really like this card, even though it doesn't block, which could be pretty bad, but I think in a general situation where you're going to have a really aggressive turn, you're going to be keeping your whole hand anyway, so you don't really need a block. So I think this card is really strong, and definitely you will see it in some Levia decks. Next is a brand new Shadow Brute defense reaction called Expandable Limbs. This is a blue 0-cost Shadow Brute defense reaction and has 4 block, and it says, as an additional cost, banish a random card from your hand. If a card with 6 or more power is banished this way, you may play it from your banish zone during your next action phase. This is the card that allows for your Diabolic Offering to have 6 block, which, when you block with Diabolic Offering, you can use the Expendable Limbs after to pump it up to a 10 block total, which is pretty good. Obviously, then you'll have probably 1 card in your hand to pay for the card you banished, which hopefully you banished a 6 power, so it is playable. I think this card is a little niche. Other than that one interaction, I would almost rather always play Reckless Swing to do 2 damage to my opponent, or play just a red defense reaction that doesn't have this additional cost. But I'm sure in a defensive deck this could see some use, especially alongside the Diabolic Offering, because I think that's where this card will generally shine. And the final Majestic inside of Dusk Till Dawn for Shadow Brute is Blood Dripping Frenzy. This is a blue 2-cost action. It has 3 block. As an additional cost to play this, you have to banish your whole hand, but you draw a card for each Blood Debt card you banish this way, and your Brute and Shadow attacks get plus X power, where X is the number of cards with 6 or more power banished this way, and then it has go again. This can be thought of as sort of an extra 3 copies of Bloodrush Bellow. It also shuts off Levia, which is really strong. And even though it doesn't have the most synergy with Claws, it does have a lot of synergy by just playing your other Brute attacks, which this on a hand, I guess generally it will be 2, but sometimes it could be 3 Blood Debt cards that you do banish if you play this, say, from Arsenal. This could be really strong and do a lot of damage, even alongside something like the Slithering Shadowpede, because you'll be banishing it from your hand, you'll be able to play it. So I think Blood Dripping Frenzy is a really good card. This is a brand new blue block 3 that Shadow Brute will definitely be interested in playing. And personally, this is my favorite Shadow Brute Majestic in the set. Next, we're going to take a look at the rare and common Shadow Brute cards. Starting off with Ram Rider. Ram Rider is a 2-cost, 6-power attack with 3 block. As an additional cost, you must banish a random card from your hand, and if the card you banished had 6 or more base power, this gets Go Again, as well as Ram Rider has Blood Debt. Think of this as the Banish Breakneck Battery. This card will be super strong since it will shut off your Blood Debt and be a strong attack with Go Again, meaning you can swing with another attack, your weapon, or like a Slithering Shadowpede after. So I really do like this card. I think you'll definitely see it in a lot of decks. Wallbreaker is a 2-cost, 6-power attack with 3 block as well. If you've banished a card with 6 or more power this turn, this gets Overpower. Overpower means it can only be defended by 1 or more action, or it can't be defended by more than 1 action card. Sort of like a bit weaker Dominate. It also has Blood Debt. I think this could see some play. It doesn't have an additional cost to do, and has a little bit of an upside. So you'll possibly see this one, but it's not really anything too amazing. Next is Shodden Scream. This is a 0-cost action with 3 block. As an additional cost to play it, you have to banish a random card from your hand. It gives your next Brute or Shadow attack this turn +5 and has Go Again. This is similar to another Brute card. I think the idea they wanted for this set was turn some of the discard-based Brute cards into banishment-based Brute cards that Leviathan could play. And I think that was generally a good idea. Even though some of these don't see much play, I think in the future they will see a lot. This one not so much, but things like the Ram Rider could, and I guess this card also could, because getting +5 is pretty nice. Although this doesn't see any play in Rhinar. Next, moving to commons, we have Battlefield Breaker. This is a 3-cost, 7-power attack with 3 block. If you've banished a card with 6 or more power this turn, this gets +1 power and has Blood Debt. This is like a riled up card that I actually do quite like at yellow. And this one, I think, will be a nice addition. Shodden Swing is a 1-cost, 7-power Brute attack with 3 block. As an additional cost, banish a random card from your hand. Blood Debt. Again, this is just another Brute card changed to be about banishing. Tribute to Demolition is a 2-cost, 6-power, 3-block attack. As an additional cost, banish a random card. If a card of 6 power is banished this way, this gets +2. Pretty nice. 2 for 8. Could be pretty good. I think you might see it sometimes. Tribute to the Legions of Doom is a 3-cost, 7-power, which is just the same one as the last one. 1 more cost to do 1 more damage with the same effect if it gets +2 if you banish the 6 or more. I think this one might see play a little less, but you do get to play it in yellow at 6 power instead of red at 6 power, so could just be an extra pitch that you want to take a look at. And that'll be it for the Shadow Brute cards. In general, they get a lot of just generally good cards. I think you'll see a few of these. I think Tribute to Demolition's good. I think Shodden Swing is good. Battlefield Breaker could see play. Mainly, you'll be seeing Ram Rider. But I do think that Leviathan needed a bit of consistency, and well, now she gets some nice consistent cards. So you'll definitely see her. And if you play her, you have access to some nice new cards. Now we'll be moving on to Shadow Runeblade, who gets a brand new hero. Vincent Iron Maiden is a 4 intellect, 40 health Shadow Runeblade hero. Vincent has the ability at the start of your turn, banish a card from your hand. If you do, create a Runechant token. Whenever you play a Shadow non-attack action card, you may pay 1 life. If you do, the next Runechant effect that would deal damage this turn can't be prevented. This effect makes a lot more sense when we take a look at some of Vincett's cards. She's all about having players lose life, mainly, hopefully, your opponent with unpreventable rune chant damage, but some of her effects are a little better when she also has lost life, which thankfully this gives her access to. She also has a young version that is the exact same hero ability and intellect, but has 20 health and is for the Blitz and other young hero formats. Vincett gets a brand new weapon, the Flail of Agony. This is a Vincett specialization Shadow Runeblade weapon Flail. It is one-handed and has 1 power, and has the simple cost of paying a life to attack with it, and when it hits, you just make a rune chant. A pretty strong effect for Vincett. As I said, when we take a look at the cards, Runegate is a brand new mechanic that Vincett gets to take use of, and you really want to have some rune chants to do so. So being able to have a rune chant going into your turn is really strong. This could be a card you just force your opponent to block, although generally you won't be swinging with it. It's generally if you have an extra action point at the end of a turn, which you could do with something like a Mauvrin Skies. This could be a very nice card to just have in play. Sometimes you swing with it, but sometimes you just don't. The complement to the Flail of Agony is the Grimoire of the Haunt. Grimoire is a Shadow Runeblade offhand. It has the instant to banish it and create an Eloquence token, and also has 1 Arcane Barrier and 1 Blood Debt. So this card is really just better Arcane Lantern. Of the offhand equipment, there really isn't many you'd want to play, or many you can play. This is just the best one. 1 native AB is very nice, so pretty good. Obviously, Rosetta Thorn is still in the format. You could still play Rosetta Thorn, but for the Vincett list that I have been testing, I do really like the Grimoire of the Haunt alongside the Flail. It just feels nice to have these together. So you generally won't be using the Grimoire at all, but there are some situations where making the Eloquence token could be really nice. Moving on to the Majestics. Widespread Annihilation is a cycle of Shadow Runeblade Majestic attacks with the brand new mechanic Runegate. Runegate is a mechanic that says if you control rune chants equal to or greater than this card's cost, you may play this card from your banish zone without paying its cost, which is 4. You need to have 4 rune chants to play this from your banish. It's also a blue, which is pretty nice. All of the widespreads have 6 power and 3 block, and all of them have Blood Debt and Runegate. And they all also have an effect that does something when the combat chain closes. A lot of the other Runegate cards also have something similar to this, but these are a bit more unique. Widespread Annihilation makes each hero who lost life this turn banish a card from their hand. Which means, yes, if you did pay your 1 life from Vincett, you will have to banish a card from your hand. But even if this attack doesn't hit, and your opponent took a rune chant damage, they'll have to banish a card from their hand because they did lose life. This is an absolutely insane card, and it will be a part of Vincett's bread and butter. But personally, even though this one banishes a card from hand, I think there is one better. Widespread Destruction. This is the yellow widespread. It's a 3 cost instead of a 4 cost, and banishes a card from Arsenal instead, which means this is a CNC that doesn't have to hit your opponent and will probably take more cards out of their hand than what a CNC would if they want to keep their arsenal, since they'll also have to pay for the 3 rune chants that are probably also coming at them. This is also the easiest to play off of Modern Skies, since this is 3 cost. If your mob's attack hit, you get 3 rune chance. Perfect for the widespread destruction. This is my favorite of the 3, and you probably won't see a Vincent deck without them. And the last widespread, sadly, I think is the weakest. Widespread Ruin is a 2-cost red that banishes the top card of the player's decks that lost life. This has its upside, has its downsides. Sometimes you hit a key piece you want off your deck. It's a little harder to control, since banishing a card from your hand with Annihilation could be something you want to plan. Sometimes you don't have an arsenal for destruction, and you generally won't have an arsenal once you're playing your Runegate attack each turn. So they're a bit easier to control, but this could hit a pretty important piece. I think you still play it because this is a 2-cost for 6 Runegate card with still a strong effect. Sometimes you hit a key card from your opponent's deck, and sometimes you also haven't lost life on your turns. So you still have the room to just play this, not banish a card from your deck, and just get a card from your opponent's deck, which does make this card pretty nice. The next 2 Majestics are both very similar. Starting with Funeral Moon, this is a 0-cost red action with 3 block. You may play it from your banish zone. It has Blood Debt, and if a hero has lost life this turn, you may play it as an instant. Funeral Moon creates a Rune Chant token. Pretty good. I think this one will definitely see play in all Vincent decks, as well as the next card. Even though it doesn't have Go Again, that can make it feel a little weak, but do remember, if you do pay a life to Vincent, activate Flail of Agony, hit your opponent with a single Rune Chant, this instantly turns into an instant, able to give you a Rune Chant at fast instant speed. Requiem of the Damned is the almost exact same card. Red, playable from banished, 3 block, 0 cost, instant if a hero has lost life. But this time gives you an Eloquence token, which is really good with Funeral Moon if you can stack it up, because then you can give the Funeral Moon Go Again, giving you an action point. Pretty nice. You'll see 3 of these, because both of them are just good cards to banish off Vincent if you don't have a Runegate card, and their tokens are very nice. You really don't want to use Grimoire for an Eloquence. You want to use this for an Eloquence, but sometimes you have to. Although, this card, just very good. The final Shadow Runeblade Majestic in the set is Oblivion. This is a 0-cost blue instant that is a legendary Vincent specialization, and only playable if you control exactly 6 rune chants and summons Nasreth the Soul Harrower. It's a token. We'll scroll down here to take a look at it. Wherever it is, I think they moved it down to tokens. Here it is. Nasreth the Soul Harrower is a 6/6 Shadow token demon ally. They have once per turn action for 0 resources to attack, and when they hit a hero, you banish a card from their soul, and if it was a light card banished, you gain a life. Pretty good into your light matchups, although this card is also good into your slower matchups where you're easily able to stack up 6 rune chants. This card isn't playable from banish, so do be careful with that. You do need to keep it in your hand, and it doesn't block. But I think this card definitely is playable, and it is only a 1-of since it is legendary, so you could just splash this in your sideboard for whenever you need it. I don't think it's particularly a good card, but it's definitely not a bad card. Next, we'll be taking a look at our Shadow Runeblade rares and commons. Deathly Delight is a 2-cost Runegate attack with 5 power and 3 block. It says, when the combat chain closes, you gain life equal to the number of heroes who've lost life this turn. So, pretty much you'll be gaining 1 life, since on the turn you lost the 1 life, you're just going to gain it back. So if you do 1 to your opponent, you'll go positive by 1. I think this in red's really nice. It's the easiest type of Runegate to play since it's only 2 rune chants. You probably won't see it in any other colors, but this is a good card to sort of sustain through a game. Next we have Deathly Wail. This is probably the best Runegate card they've printed. This is a 3 cost, 6 power, Shadow Runeblade action attack. It has 3 block, Runegate of course, and Blood Debt. When the combat chain closes, you create a rune chant for each hero who's lost life this turn. Absolutely amazing setup. If you and your opponent has lost life this turn, which your opponent will probably lose life if you've lost life, you get 2 rune chants, which then at the start of your next turn lets you get a 3rd rune chant with Vincett's ability, allowing you to play pretty much any of your Runegate cards except Widespread Annihilation, but that's just 1 rune chant away at that point. This is probably the best card you have in Vincett, and I think you'll see this one at 9 copies in a lot of Vincett decks, since even at blue, it's just a really good card that can set up for your next turn. The final rare that Shadow Runeblade has in this set is Envelop in Darkness. This is a 1 cost red. At red, create a rune chant token. The next attack action card you Runegate this turn gets +3, and it has go again. Only 2 block, does kind of cut this card down, but hey, I mean, making a rune chant and getting +3 for 1 resource, pretty strong, and I think you'll definitely see this one in some decks. Moving on to the commons, Riftskitter is a 3 cost Runegate card with 4 power. It has Blood Debt, 3 block, and go again. Pretty basic for the go wide Vincett decks. I think you'll see it sometimes, but not really the strongest Runegate card you have access to. Vance and Banshee is just a 3 cost Runegate for 7 with 3 block and Blood Debt. Baseline, 3 cost. It's pretty good. Phantom Wraith is the same, but is 2 cost for 6 with Runegate, Blood Debt. This one's a little better. Since it's 2 cost, you'll definitely see Phantom Wraith more than Phantom Banshee. And the final Shadow Runeblade common is Putrid Stirrings. This is a 3 cost action with 3 block, Blood Debt. You may play it from your Banish Zone. The next attack action card you Runegate this turn gets +5, and Putrid Stirrings has go again. Could see play in blue. Don't think it's very good in any other colors, but it is a blue block 3 that is a card playable from Banish, so it could be pretty nice. I think this card is a nice one. And that wraps up our Shadow Runeblade cards for the set. Moving on, we have the rest of the just standard Shadow cards, although we will be starting off with pretty much a Shadow Brute card. Levia Redeemed is a brand new type of card called a Demi-Hero. This is a legendary Levia specialization, meaning you can only have 1 in your deck. She has 4 intellect and 8 health, which is very interesting. If you've ever played Hearthstone back in the old days, you would know that Lord Jaraxxus is a card that replaces your hero. This is a very similar idea. I guess he still replaces your hero now, but not as interesting as before. Levia has the ability of action. Turn all cards in your Banish Zone face down. Transform into Levia Redeemed. Activate this ability only while this is in your inventory, and you have 13 or more cards with Blood Debt in your Banish Zone. She also gives you the ability Cards you own lose blood debt. Do note, when you turn into Leviah Redeemed, you only have 8 HP. Your HP will be set to 8 when you transform into her. This is a strong effect, shutting off all of your blood debt. Now you don't need to banish a 6 power card, although setting your life to 8, and since this is an action that doesn't have go again, could be pretty risky, as well as you need 13 cards in your banish zone. Note, this is played from your inventory, so just have it in your sideboard. I think if you're playing Leviah, you should probably have this in your sideboard, because it's a pretty strong safety net, but Leviah Redeemed isn't that safety net, because this card is double-sided. Blasphemous Leviah Consumed is a legendary Leviah specialization, 4 intellect, 13 health, shadow, demi-hero, demon. While this is in your inventory, when blood debt reduces your life to 13, you may transform into Blasphemous Leviah Consumed. Once each turn, you may play a card with blood debt from your banish zone. Whenever a card is put into your banish zone, turn it face down, and if you would lose life from blood debt, instead banish the top card of your deck. Pretty much, instead of taking damage from blood debt, you're milling yourself now. Although it does give you a strong late game presence, since now all of those cards in your banish zone that you banish that have blood debt are easily playable with Blasphemous ability, pretty much giving you an extra card each turn. Turning into Blasphemous really doesn't change your HP either, since you have to do it at 13, and, well, he sets your life to 13. So, honestly, really strong. This, I think, is the one you'll see pretty much all the time. On a turn, you don't see a Leviah banished. They'll go to 13 just to flip into this to pretty much have an extra card for the rest of the game, as well as not have to super worry about blood debt, although they still kind of do, since now they're decking themselves pretty fast. Next is the cycle of common equipment. I think I've already said about these in the equipment for the more free-to-play equipment, but all of these are very good. These are definitely better than all of the light ones. They just have, if your hero will be dealt damage, you may banish this to prevent 2, and they have blood debt. Super strong. Actually, really strong with Leviah, since these could be blood debt cards that you banish to get to 13, either life or cards in banish, so do look out for these. I think all of them are pretty strong. The gloves and the boots seem the strongest, because generally heads and chests are a little stronger, but I think you could see pretty much any of these. Moving on to the Majestics, there are only 3 Shadow Majestics. Dabble in Darkness is a 0-cost red with 5 power and 3 block. It says, when this attacks, banish the top card of your deck. This gets -X, where X is the pitch value of the banished card. Blood debt. This is just a Ravenous Rabble without go again. I don't think it's too strong, but could shut off your blood debt in Leviah. Chains of Mephetis is a blue 0-cost action aura. It is 3 block. You may play it from your banish zone. If you do, it enters with a doom counter. At the start of your turn, you destroy it unless you remove a doom counter, so it's around for 2 turns. It has blood debt, but the main effect is, if a hero would draw a card during an action phase, instead they banish the top card of their deck, and you may play it this turn. Pretty strong. There are definitely uses, like you could play this rounds on me, get rid of their cards. You could get this into play and get an Art of War, I guess. But I think if they play the Art of War in reactions, it doesn't check it. This is good into a 3 of a kind. This is mainly here to beat Ranger. There are good situations for it, but it's here to beat Ranger. I think it's a really cool card, and if any deck that wants to draw a ton will ever be in the meta, this card will definitely be there to try to prevent it. I think this card's super sweet, but it's really just for one matchup. And the final one is Dimensional Vortex. This is a 3-cost, 0-pitch card. It's an action. It has no block. You may play it from your banished zone. If you do, it costs 2 less. And each hero banishes a card from their arsenal. And this is Blood Debt. I think this is pretty weak. If you want to banish a card from arsenal, just play Vincent and play Widespread Destruction. This card probably won't see play since it's 0 pitch, 0 banish. Literally all it does is get rid of arsenal. It just seems a little too weak to me. Now let's take a look at all of the shadow, rare, and commons. Hungering Demagon is a 2-cost, 6-power attack with 3 block. If an opponent has 1 or more cards in their soul, you may play it from your banish zone. And when this hits a hero, you banish a card from their soul. It also has Blood Debt. This is an extremely strong card to bring into Prism. This will be a great sideboard card for any shadow deck to have for Prism, since it's not only a popper, but also if you play it into Prism, you get rid of their soul, a card from their soul, and it can also be played from banished if they have a card in their soul. So really strong. Vincent might play it a little less, but definitely Levia will have it in their boards, and I'm sure Vincent will have it in their boards as well. Grim Feast is a 3-cost action with 2 block. It gains you 3 life. It has Blood Debt, and you may play it from your banish. If you do, it costs 2 less. So 1 cost, gain 3 life, but still a little niche, I think, since it doesn't have Go Again. It's like a Healing Bomb, but I think Healing Bomb's a little stronger of a card, even though you can play this one from your banish zone. Vile Inquisition is a shadow action with 3 block. It's a 2-cost with Blood Debt. Similar to the other ones, you may play it from your banish zone. If you do, it costs 2 less, which is actually good to note since this one does cost 2, so it will be free. You can have target hero banish the top card of their deck. If it's red, they lose a life. The yellow one and the blue one say their colors. The yellow says yellow, blue says blue. I've seen this a little bit, but it doesn't really seem like the strongest card. If you're using it on yourself, you're going to lose a life. And also, it doesn't have Go Again. That's another thing to note. This card does not have Go Again. So if you're using it on yourself to try to banish a playable card, it'll end your turn. If you use it on your opponent, well, there's a chance your opponent's not going to be on a certain type of deck. Which, yes, this is good against decks that have a lot of reds. The red one, you'll probably see the red one more, but you'll probably also see the blue one. But if you're playing the blue one against the red liner deck, it's not going to be strong. The yellow one's only really strong against light heroes, and you don't really have all 3 of these in your deck, so it is pretty niche. I don't think you'll see this one as much. Soul Butcher is a 2-cost, 6-power, 2 block. If this is defending, or if the defending hero has 1 or more card in their soul, this gets +2. 2 for 8 strong, but I don't think it's as strong as the Demagon, getting rid of a card from their soul. Soul Cleaver is the same. If you play it into a hero that has 1 or more cards in their soul, this gets Go Again. This one's actually stronger. I think this one could see play in Levia against the Prism and Bullet matchups. And I guess even against Levia technically, since the old hero card does go to your soul, this could be pretty decent in. Beseech the Demagon is a 0-cost action. It is 2 block. You choose an attack in your banish zone, and it has +3 until end of turn. Go Again. This card's actually really good. I think you'll definitely see this one in Vincent, because you can play this as a free +3 on a Runegate attack, and then play the Runegate attack. This is also a shadow action, so if you want to proc Vincent, you can. I think this card's actually great. And then finally, Tear Through the Portal is similar. You choose a card in your Banish Zone, but instead of giving it +3, you give it Go again. And then note this one also has you choose the color, specifically red chooses red, yellow, yellow, blue, blue. But you're probably only going to play the red one since Vincent will be more aggressive towards the reds. And also, this one's a little better than, is it Vile Inquisition, I believe? Yeah, it's a little better than Vile Inquisition because this one's based on your deck entirely. So if your deck's built around reds, Tear Through the Portal is going to be really strong. And finally, now we're just going to talk about the generics. Crown of Providence. You're receiving a reprint. You don't know what this is. This is just a generally good helmet. When it defends, you can put a card from your hand or arsenal on the bottom to draw Blade Break. It is 2 block. These supplemental sets generally always come with a random generic legendary reprint from a past set. We have a brand new cycle here. The front line equipment. I don't think I actually talked about these in my video before, since they, I believe, were shown after I recorded it. But the frontline equipment are all 2 block Blade Break equipment. At the beginning of the end phase, you put a -1 counter on it. Pretty strong in commoner. I think these could be some nice equipment there. And that's pretty much really all I have to say about them. I wouldn't really play these in Constructed, since Constructed games can go a little long, but I think they are still pretty good. Censor is our first Majestic. This is a 1 cost, 5 power red with 3 block. Censor says, when this hits a hero, name a card. They can't play the named card until the end of their next turn. I've seen this played in a little bit of Briar, but other than that, not so much. It's just a strong attack. If your deck wants a red attack that doesn't have Go again, just like something decently strong with some upside, think decks that play Exude Confidence. I think it's very similar. I think Censor will see some play in there to sort of try to hit some key pieces. Sometimes it doesn't work, and a lot of the times it won't work, because those same decks don't have an information effect. Maybe this could see play in Icelander, since she has some information gathering with Brain Freeze, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't think it's too strong a card, but definitely has its home in a few decks. Next, the all-around best card in Dusk Till Dawn, Mischievous Meeps. I don't know how they printed this card. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been waiting all video to talk about this card. This might be a rant. I don't know. This is a 1 cost red, 2 power, 2 block generic attack action. It has, when this hits a hero, gain control of an item they control with 2 or less cost. Otherwise, draw a card. You ever want Snatch, but has base Go again? You ever want to play Kyloria in literally any deck ever? This card is absolutely crazy. Any deck that is redliner, even though the redliner in this costs 1, you have Tunic. Mischievous Meeps is great. If you're playing Dash, you better block this, because if you don't, you're going to lose the whole game because they took your item. This is absolutely a crazy card. I don't know how this card was let through. I think we'll see it a lot. And I mean, that kind of scares me because this card is super strong. And yeah, right now it's not very much looked at, but this will probably turn into the next Down and Dirty. Where Down and Dirty, you know, didn't see much play, but after people played the format, they saw, okay, this Codex card's really strong. Down and Dirty is a way to help beat it. This card is not only for a specific card. This is like a main board staple in so many decks. If your deck is built on like Fi is built on having 1 blue. and the rest straight gas. This card is straight gas. They have to block it or you draw a card. If they block it, it has go again, so it doesn't matter because you still get your action point back. I'm going to be putting this in Icelander, in Bullander, because they have to block it. They have to use a card from their hand, which means they can't just like take it and try to kill me. This takes a card of their hand. I could play this. If they block it, use Cornet Peak. That's 2 cards out of your hand. Now you have a 2-card hand going into a Arsenal plus full hand Icelander. You play this in Briar. What are they going to do when this card's 5 power? They have to use 2 cards from their hand. What are they going to do when this card's 8 power? Because you played another pump. They have to take it at some point. You play it, they run out of cards. This extends your turn a ton. I think this card is absolutely insane. I don't know how much it is priced right now. Last time I looked, it was like $5. Get your meeps. Get your meeps. This card will be strong. Because even its only downside is its 2 block. That's its only downside. But this card is so strong. Anyway, we're going to move on because I could be here all day talking about this. And this video is probably already super long. So let's just move on to the other Majestics. Hold the Line is a blue generic defense reaction with 2 block. It is free. It has the effect, if the attacking hero has drawn 2 or more cards this turn, prevent the next 3 damage that will be dealt to your hero this turn. Pretty strong versus Lexi. Really just into Lexi, because she's really the only deck drawn. Oh, or Art of Wars, I suppose. This could be strong into that as well. So any deck that plays Art of War, think Fi, think maybe Katsu, which even against Katsu, they do draw off like Whelming and Mask. This could be a good card to see into those matchups, mainly for Lexi, but as well as Ninja. This is a nice card. Hack to Reality is a 1-cost action. It is 2 block. It is a yellow. The next attack you do this turn gets +2. The next time you hit a hero this turn, you destroy a non-token aura they own with cost less than or equal to the damage dealt this way. Go again. This is here just for, Illusionist. I guess against Vincent, you can destroy... Oh, you can't even destroy the Rune Chant. Never mind. This is literally just for Illusionist. You destroy Dromai's, burn them all. They're passing Mirage against Prism. She seems like she's going to be more aura-based than we thought, so getting rid of those big auras, if you do at least 4, is super strong. This card will see play at some point, I'm sure. Probably a little better in like Briar, but that's really about it. I think that's the only deck that can take the most use of this. Maybe Viserai, but that's really it. Although, good card to have in case those decks do become too strong. Warmonger's Diplomacy is a blue 0-cost action. It has 3 block. It has a pretty interesting effect. Starting with the hero to your left, each hero chooses War or Peace. If they chose War, the only actions they may play or activate on their next turn are weapons and attack actions. If they chose Peace, the only actions they may play or activate during their next turn are non-weapon, non-attack actions. Super strong into a few matchups, mainly ones that need to use their weapon to attack. Ranger, if they pick War, they can only load the bow and shoot. They can't play they can't use, I believe they can't use Lexi's ability. They can't use 3 of a kind. I think they can still Rain Razors, because that's an instant. But they can't use their setup things. They can't play pumps. Somehow this card's broken into Riptide. I didn't even think about that. Riptide just loses to this card. And then if they chose Peace, what decks would choose Peace? Maybe Wizards would choose Peace. But then they can't use actions on their weapon, which they're all instant. So this card doesn't do anything against Wizard. Well, it's a blue against Wizard, so it can block. But any deck that wants to play like a mix of non-attacks and attacks, you know, Ranger, I guess Guardian. This could be strong into Guardian. They can't play their big pumps. They can't activate their tech plating. Oh, a big one. This card is super strong into Dromai. They can't play a dragon and attack with it in the same turn. Because to play a dragon, they need to choose Peace. But to attack with the dragons, they need to choose War. This card's super strong into Dromai. I think this is another card close to Meeps, actually. Now that I'm really thinking about it, this card is super strong. You will see it in a lot of decks. Even though it doesn't have Go Again, that's fine. Because you're shutting off pretty much their entire next turn. And then the final Majestic. Poison the Well. This is just here for, at some point, fatigue will come back. You turn their sigils into -3 health. Super funny. It's a blue, 0 cost instant. The next time a hero would gain life this turn, they lose that much life instead. Pretty cool. It's a blue, it's nice, pretty niche right now. Only going to be good against like Dromai, because she is the only deck right now. I think that, oh, maybe Bravo. Dromai and Bravo, I think, are the only decks right now that play Sigil of Solace. I don't even think Prism is playing Sigil. So, I mean, Poison the Well for them if you have trouble with them. But that's really about it. You could also kill them late if they are at like 1 and you're on like Katsu and they play Sigil. In response, Poison the Well, your Sigil deals you 3. Pretty cool. I think this card is pretty niche, but pretty nice. And even though that's it for the Majestics, let's look at tokens, because I haven't talked about 2 of these. Obviously, Spellbane Aegis and Quicket are in the set, but I don't think I talked about Courage or Eloquence a single time, and I definitely said them a lot in these videos. Courage tokens are a generic token. When you play an attack action card or attack with a weapon, you destroy this and give it +1. Mainly made in Bolton, with some of Bolton's attacks, mainly the brand new equipment, the brand new gloves, as well as one of the bannerets. Pretty cool. I think this card's super strong, especially in Bolton, because that +1 is really good. And then Eloquence tokens, made by Requiem of the Damned and the Grimoire and Shiana's spec. This gives your next non-attack action Go Again. Like, it's a quick token for non-attack actions. I think these 2 tokens will definitely help a lot of decks. Mainly in Shiana too, because she gets to go like, I guess she gets to play less than a lava with Go Again. That's pretty cool. So, I think these are pretty nice. I think you'll definitely see them around a lot. These will definitely be like the 3 poison tokens, the Frailty, Blood Rot, and Inertia for some decks. So, very nice. All in all, I think this set's really cool. Even if you are not a Brute, Illusionist, Runeblade, or Warrior player, you do have access to some really nice Majestics, Mischievous Meeps, Warmonger's Diplomas. Actually, all of these, I think, we'll see play at some point. Censor, Meeps, Hold the Line, Hacked Reality, Warmonger's Diplomacy, Poison the Will, all really nice. If you don't own a Crown of Providence, you got a nice chance to pull one. Some really good legendaries coming out. If you're a Guardian player, you like Bravo, Starstruck's here. Briar, Oldham's gone, and Lexi all have nice new spec. The Shadow and Light cards all seem really nice. And with all that, that will wrap up the full Dusk Till Dawn set review. If you guys watched through all of this, I hope you enjoyed. I really appreciate it. And see you all in the next one. Goodbye.